What's up guys, Coach Az here. Today we're going to talk about bad sparring partners. What makes one, why are they like that, what not to do about it, and what you can and what you should do about it in the future. As always on this channel, I try to cover a wide breadth of martial arts in terms of what I'm talking about so that it's beneficial for a lot of you. So whether you're a boxer, Muay Thai, kickboxing, even jiu-jitsu, grappling, judo, I believe a lot of these principles and a lot of these things apply all the same. Let's start with what makes a bad sparring partner. And the main one that you probably all are thinking of that comes to mind is they're just going too hard. Whether it be in striking, they're just hitting too hard, or grappling, they're just attacking too hard. It's just too brutal for you. A, you can't handle it, and B, it's actually just hurting you. They're holding submissions too long and it's hurting you. They're putting, knee on belly on the floor and they're crushing your stomach and it's hurting you. They're hitting you so hard in the head that you're seeing flashes of lights. And that goes hand in hand with the second sign of a bad sparring partner is they're not recognizing when you're hurt. They're not seeing that you've been affected by what they've just done and they're continuing to do it. They're still hitting you even though you're clearly unable to defend yourself. And it's at the point where if it was in a fight, the referee probably would have stepped in and called the fight, but they're still going. Beyond that, they might be throwing dangerous techniques. Let's take, for example, BJJ. You might be a complete beginner and they stick you in a heel hook. Generally speaking, heel hooks, leg lock submissions are saved for advanced grades because they have a better understanding of what's happening, when to tap, how to defend, and they're far less likely to get injured. That would be a bad sparring partner in BJJ unless it's within the rule set of the club. In kickboxing, as an example, they're going too wild. They're throwing like mad spinning back fists, or they're using their elbows and their knees without correct padding. All of this stuff is really dangerous within a sparring setup. And this also goes for things like low blows or hitting you in the spine or kicking you in the knees. All these things where there's just such a high risk of injury and it's just not a safe way to spar. And finally, and you'll see this a lot with beginners, just being wild. They're swinging their arms, they're swinging their legs, they're being very unorthodox and unpredictable in a way where you're gonna end up just getting hurt or they're gonna end up hurting themselves. The next question is, why are they like that? And I think this bit gets left out a lot and then people don't understand, and therefore they jump straight to what they're trying to do about it instead of trying to understand the root cause. The most common reason for a bad sparring partner is that they're just inexperienced. They don't understand the rule set of what they're doing. They have no comprehension of their own power. They don't understand how much of that power they should be using in a sparring match. They've still got that win mentality where they've never competed before, they've never thought about it. This is for them, it's a fight and they're trying to win, they're trying to beat you. You got to think adrenaline's pumping through. We've all been there. Think first sparring sessions, think early days. You're full of adrenaline, you're full of anxiety, you're full of nerves, and you get into a very kind of fight or flight mode, you get very defensive, and then a lot of that just spills out. And then you end up being wild, you end up being overly aggressive, and you lose that empathy or sympathy for your partner. That being said, you see a lot of very experienced bad sparring partners, and this comes down to a couple of reasons in my opinion. Number one is they're ego driven. They've got a big ego. They feel like they've got something to prove. You come in, maybe you're the new guy, maybe you're physically in better shape than them, body looks nicer, or you're younger than them, and they feel like they have something to prove. Obviously they don't, but this is, what's going on in their mind. They've got like little man syndrome or something, and they're just trying to put it on you to put you in your place. And this ego thing also causes these guys to try and win the fights in the gym. I tell my guys all the time, we don't fight in the gym. We don't fight during sparring. We are sparring, which is a form of training. It's not trying to win the fight because there's no winner here. No one's keeping score. There's no judges. There's no referees. Now, you should train the way you intend to win because that's how you develop your skills and prepare for a fight. You have to always keep in mind, this is training. We're not here to smash each other. You're not trying to knock out your sparring partner. At least you shouldn't be. And finally, they're an asshole. Yeah, it's a reason, Some people are just assholes. Maybe they had a bad upbringing. Maybe they were abused growing up. Maybe they had a rough time of it at school. Maybe they've got problems at home and they're filled with anger and rage, and suddenly you've given them an opportunity to express their emotions, their anger, their frustration, their rage, and it just spills out of them. And this is just the place they go to put it all out onto someone else. Very unhealthy, very bad for you, but pretty common. Right, before I get into what the title of this video is, which is how to deal with these people, here's a really important thing, is how not to deal with these people. And I've seen all of these things be done multiple occasions, and I can tell you with confidence, these things don't work. Don't lose your cool. Once you lose your cool and you start shouting at them, you start going at them, you've come down to their level, and it's now an even playing field in that sense. You don't have anywhere to stand from a kind of morality point of view, to stand there and say what you're doing there is wrong, because you've just dropped yourself back down there. If you start swearing at them, threatening them, attacking them, shouting at them, you lose your cool, you've brought yourself down to that place, and it's not going to help you resolve it in the long run. Really what it's going to do is it's going to cause a very hard divide between you and that person, because once they've been shouted at, once they've been threatened, sweared at, it's very difficult for you two to reconcile that and to get back to where you were. I'm not saying you're not going to communicate with them, but attacking them is not the answer. Especially, like I said, majority of these people are completely unaware of what they're doing, and they don't do it with bad intentions, with the exceptions of the assholes, but the majority of them don't know. So suddenly, in the middle of sparring, where they think you're both having a good time, you start shouting and swearing and threatening them. Just imagine how that's going to make them respond in the future. It's not the way. Do not match their crazy. If they're hitting hard, don't start hitting them hard. If they're going wild, don't start going wild. If they're not respecting you, don't start not respecting them. Because again, all you're doing here is you're escalating the situation. You're only going to make it worse. And the big thing you're doing is you are reinforcing their behavior. You're telling that person what you're doing here is fine, and I'm going to do it too. They might have a great sparring round with you. They might really enjoy it, but they're going to take that same energy to the next sparring partner. And if that happens again, it goes to the next sparring partner. And what happens is you affect the sparring culture of your gym when you do this. You spread this idea of what sparring is around the gym. And this is why it's so important to address this in the right way. The sparring culture is a real sensitive, real carefully developed thing from gym to gym. And you'll go to different places and you'll see very different sparring cultures. And a lot of it is based upon how they handle these situations. If you match people, you are reinforcing that behavior, and they're going to take it onto the next partner, and the likelihood is you're going to take it onto the next partner. And that then spreads out between everyone in the gym who's training that day, and before you know it, the whole room is sparring the same way. Now that can be either a good thing or it can be a bad thing. And this one, it's a bit controversial, but I genuinely believe in it. Maybe I'm a bit of an idealistic person. Don't write them off. Don't avoid sparring them. Don't not partner with that person. What you're doing there is you're saying that that's the way that person spars, and therefore I don't want any part of it, so I'm going to avoid them. Fine, you've looked after yourself, I guess, in that sense. You protected yourself because you're just not going to deal with it. But the problem is the rest of the gym now still has to deal with that guy. The issue hasn't been resolved with them. Now, I'm not telling you that it's your personal responsibility to fix that person, to handle it. By having that attitude towards it, you're effectively singling yourself out from him, and you're exposing him to the rest. I'm saying him, her. You're exposing that person to everyone else. Here's what you should do about it, and this will be the reason why you won't hopefully need to do the last thing I just said, which is avoid the person. The most powerful thing you can do in sparring, and I don't see it happen anywhere near enough, is call time out. Time. Sorry, mate, you're hitting way too hard. We don't do that here. Could you just bring your power right down, 10 levels? That's a quick example. Now, obviously you don't control the way that person responds. They might turn around to you and go, I'm not hitting hard. I don't know what you're talking about. You're being a wuss. You don't know that, and that's a different thing. Most of the time, again, I'm talking from experience. I'm talking from 20 years of being in rooms with people and sparring and doing this to people, stopping them and talking to them like this. 9 times out of 10, they go, "I'm so sorry, didn't realize," touch gloves, and we carry on, and instantly there's a difference. It could go the complete other way. They could get angry at you, or again, they could just touch gloves and carry on exactly as they were. If you're a gym coach, if you own a gym, or if you teach classes, I think it's so important to distill this idea that communicating during sparring is not only allowed, but it's essential. Has to be done, has to be included. It's important, it's part of the culture. People need to feel comfortable to tell their partner to calm down, or let's crank it up, let's go to the next level, to tell them that they're injured or they're dealing with something. This all needs to be able to be done openly, without judgment, without any anger or frustration on anyone's part. So communicate with your sparring partners. Tell them what they're doing. Tell them, "You're kicking too low, mate. You keep going for the groin. You need to get your kicks up." Tell them, "We don't attack to the back," and explain why. Yeah, explain the reasons that we don't kick someone in the spine. Because although for you, that's common sense, don't kick someone in the spine, they don't know. You'd be surprised what beginners, what new people don't understand. And again, even those experienced might just not realize, and maybe they've come to a different gym, it's a different rule set, they just don't know. Now, like I said, this isn't always an option. You know, the world's not all butterflies and roses. Some people are not going to respond well to this. And in that case, it's time to speak to coach. I think as a grown-up, that whole idea of telling on someone, of going and speaking to a superior and going, "He's hitting me too hard," is like, you know, we're at a kickboxing school. What's going on here? The coach has a responsibility to all of you for your safety, and he wants, guaranteed, he wants a healthy sparring culture in his gym. He doesn't have eyes everywhere. I've had it on multiple occasions where I've missed something. Someone's got hit way too hard, or someone's gone on too much, and because I've got a room of 10, 15, 20 bodies, I didn't see it. I didn't catch it. No one said anything to me because their pride didn't allow them to. And then a few days later, maybe that person quits and I realize what happens. Maybe they come to me a few days later, you know, they've got a black eye all of a sudden. I'm like, what happened? And then they tell me. So if you don't feel like you can do it, then speak to your coach and let them have the hard conversation with someone. And if they won't, if they're like, "Look, that's just how it is here," well, then you at least know that you can make a decision about, do you want to continue training here or do you not? Everyone really needs to understand there is not a sparring nirvana anywhere where everyone just spars perfectly. No one hits too hard, everyone is controlled, no one kicks anyone in the groin. It doesn't exist. I've never seen it. It happens, guys. People hit too hard. People get carried away. People are assholes. That's just the way life is. It's up to us to actively participate in getting that under control, speaking to the coaches and developing a healthy sparring culture. And lastly, like, you're stuck with the person for a round, let's say, there's no one else to spar with. You've tried talking to him, it didn't work. You're going to speak to coach later, but you need to get through this round. Just spar real intelligently. Just focus in on defense. Again, you don't need to then go for them and try to match them. Just get smart. Whenever I spar beginners, that's when my defenses are at my highest, because I just don't know what's going to come at me. You know, spinning back fists come out of nowhere and knock my head off because they just are so erratic. Yeah, so get defensive, get the guard up, use the footwork, use your experience to nullify that extreme pressure that they're coming at you with. And if you're inexperienced, it's a good opportunity to work on fundamental defenses. At the end of the day, you also have to remember, you can always call stop. It's a volunteer thing, guys. You want to stop sparring, stop sparring. Touch gloves, go, "Really sorry, I'm out." There's no issue with it. Don't let your pride and your ego get in the way. Life is too short, and especially if you're doing it as a hobby, there's no sense in you getting smashed in the head because this guy, this girl can't control herself. It's not your problem. You don't need to stand there and take it. All right, guys, I've gone on far too long. I've rambled a little bit. I apologize for that. I hope some of this has been helpful for you. I hope you can take it away. If you've got any advice for anyone who's dealing with rough sparring partners, stick it down in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see a video of next time. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.